Hi everybody, a very, very warm welcome yet again. It's nice to have your company. Just a quick disclaimer before we start. We have had so many emails with people apologising they're not going to be able to join us live today. Basically because it's holiday season and a lot of them are away and sunning themselves, and yeah, good luck to them as well. We've gone from the sublime to the ridiculous. The last couple of webinars, we have been absolutely sweltering in here. We've just had probably the worst storm I've heard for a long, long time. Hailstones on the roof and everything. But thankfully, it's abated a little bit now. We're here today with Ketron Event. Again, I know you can't see it yet. I'll change the camera angle in just a short while. And I thought we'd do something just a little bit different today. So what I'd like to do is get you involved. So I'm going to ask you for ideas, and I really would love you to participate. I know we're going to be a little bit low on numbers, but don't panic. I've had people saying, well, I don't want to comment because I don't want people seeing me. Obviously, nobody can see anything. It's just a matter of put a little commenter. Yeah, we're going to run through some of these things here. Let's just change the overhead. Oh, by the way, I must mention I have my good lady S with me today. She's checking up on me, not happy with the standard of work we've been putting out recently. And if you believe that, you'll believe anything. I can't actually see the comments, so S, if you'd be good enough to tell me when some comments of importance come in to the webinar, because I can't actually see it on the screen today for some reason, but there you go. Yeah, what I want to do, I just want to spend the first 10-15 minutes and I just want to recap a few things, because we've now got a lot of Ketron owners, and I've, as usual, received some emails, and I'm just going to try and cover them, and hopefully this will be interest to the rest of you, because it works in a slightly different way to some of the other products, but I think this is a really intuitive system, and wait till the end of the webinar. You'll either agree with me or you won't, but we won't argue about it, hey? So look, what I'm going to do is just show you first of all how we select and layer sounds, because this is where it's a little bit different. When you look at the panel here, and the same applies to the EVM, obviously you can see it on the screen there, but you have voice 1, voice 2, and drawbars. Now let's forget the drawbars for a second, because that is the dedicated organ part. And I think we all know what the drawbars do. So voice 1, voice 2. Logic would say, well, we can mix two sounds together, but actually it's a lot more than that. And that's the thing I just want to recap. Voice 1 can be a single voice. It can be two voices. It can be three voices layered together. So can voice 2. So we can do anything from one voice up to 6 voices mixed together. Even more than that, when you layer 3 sounds, you don't have to have them all active at once. You can use different ways to bring different sounds in and out. So look, let's just take a sound. So I'm pressing the sound part in the window, and I'm going to choose ensemble, which is just a nice string sound. Let's select that. There we go. So that is just a single sound. If we now do the long press, this is now where we can see the 3 possible layers within voice 1. So let me switch layer 2 on, and I'm just going to tap where the name of the sound is, and I'm going to decide I want a classic choir to go with that. Look, it's updated it, so now we've got strings and choir. We can control the volume, so maybe I want the volume of the choir higher than the strings. Maybe I would like to take the strings down an octave. Now, this is where you have to get used to the slightly different terminology. It doesn't say octave, it says shift. And we tap on that, and it's in semitones, very similar to the Korg system. So we take it down 12 semitones. That will take the strings. Now we maybe bring the volume of the strings back up a little bit. Nice. Okay. We can do lots of other things. We can fine tune. And we've talked about this before. If you're going to layer, for example, 3 string sounds together, then you might want to very slightly detune a couple of the sections just to add that ultimate sort of realism to it. We've got pan here. I think we all know what that does. So I'll highlight pan on the strings. I'll take that right to the left, and I'll take a similar amount to the right for the choir. So now I've got the choir on that side and the strings over on that side. Even this page is quite comprehensive. We can adjust the amount of reverb. We can adjust the amount of chorus. But if you look down in the bottom corner, this is only page 1 of 7. So we can do lots and lots of things with these. Let's go through to page 2. Now, we're going to cover this a little bit later. We've got range. That's where you set a range of notes, or you create a zone for a particular sound. Let's do it really quickly here, because I want to show you how easy this is to do. The strings, I'm going to tap there. Now, forget about the accompaniment split point. That will take care of itself. So actually, I could just press the bottom note. It's now jumped to the top note. Where do I want it to go up to? I'll take it up to this G sharp here. There we go. So the choir, where do I want that to start? I want it to start the note above where the strings end. So we just tap that one and then tap the top note. And very, very quickly, now the octaves are now wrong because we've got the strings deep and we've got the choir high. So that's ever so simple. Go back to page 1 and let's take the choir down an octave and bring the strings back up. And there we go. So we've got strings and choir. I think, I'll allow you to prove me wrong, but I think that's probably the easiest system I've ever found for creating a split point. It's just a matter of tapping notes. The reason I said don't worry about the auto accompaniment split is the minute you put the style on, it takes that into consideration anyway. So the strings will start from the note above where you've normally got your accompaniment split, even though we said the very bottom note. So it's just the easiest way to do it. We have velocity. Again, well, I might give you an example of that later, but when you've got sounds mixed together, you can make certain sounds only come in when you strike with a certain velocity. And again, very easy to do. You just highlight it and turn and set the figure. It might take you a few little goes to find out which sort of level suits your touch, the way you play. Now we can go through to the next page and we can do all sorts of things here. Noticeably, whether it's affected by an expression pedal, whether it's affected by a sustain pedal, whether it's mono or poly. So again, you might have 2 string sounds and you want a solo violin. So you would set the violin to be a mono sound there. We can go through into page 4 and we can decide whether we want aftertouch on all or just one of the sounds. You know, you just tick it, and basically you put auto tab, and that will remember that you want aftertouch on there. And you can control what the aftertouch does. So if it's going to put some vibrato on, you can determine how much vibrato that you want to put on. You can determine things like modulation, pitch bend. You can even bend notes by pressing harder. But you have total control over it. Go to the next section, and this is where things really start getting interesting. And what I'm going to do for this, I'm going to come out of this little example, and we'll go back into a sound that I've already sort of set up in there. So yeah, let's go out and let's do this one. So let me go into a registration that I've already done. Let's try this one. Okay, so if I load this registration in, I've got a little guitar here. Got some nice delay on that as well. There we go. Now, let's take a look at that actual sound. So it's called Fragile Guitar. We do the long press on it. Now I can see it's classical fingered guitar and nylon guitar, but I can also see a vocal sound there, but I can't hear it. And yet the volume's up. And this is where, let's go back to the page we were on a minute ago, page 5. This is really important. You can have first sounds and second sounds. A second sound means it's there, it's pre-selected, but you can now determine how you bring that sound in. And I've selected coupling. That means it will couple with the other sounds when I bring it in. You can have it so that it swaps, so it goes from one set of sounds to another, but I've chosen to ask it to couple with the sound. And how am I going to bring it in? I'm using the articulation button, which is over here. Now, I can do it all sorts of ways. I can do it with a modulation wheel. I can do it with a foot switch. I think I can do it with aftertouch. I haven't tried that, but I'm pretty sure I can. Yeah, pedal, sustain, aftertouch. Yeah, so we can do that as well. But I'm just choosing this articulation toggle. That means when I press that, it will switch it on. And to switch it off, I need to press it again. Now you can probably just hear now very quietly in the background because I've not got too much volume on it, but I can bring the volume up just to show you. There's that vocal sound. If I switch it back off, we're back to that echo guitar. Bring it in. And this, for me, is fantastic because particularly if you bring it in using a pedal, because it means you don't have to take your hands off the keyboard, but you can have all sorts of configurations of sounds, and it saves selecting another registration or making another registration up. You can just bring that sound in and out. And when we come to some little examples I've put together later, you'll see some real world use for that sort of thing there. Okay, so yeah, we could carry on. I think you're getting the idea by now. We can actually edit the sound. So we can put some vibrato on if we want to, and then if we go through, you know, we can alter some of the frequencies and do a little bit of basic voice editing in there as well. So 7 pages, but it's not as daunting as you think, and I find that really intuitive. You can do exactly the same for voice too. The important thing is once you've created a sound that you like, what you actually do is just press save. And it knows you want to save an edited voice. So what you need to do is dial through and find an empty location. There we go, number 15. And I'll say save as, and this one's easy. I'm just going to put a 2 on the end. So let's go there and put a 2 on. Enter. And there you go. So in my user guitars now, we should have Fragile Guitar 2, which will have the choir on from the beginning because I selected it to be on. So what you're actually doing, if you've got any sense, is just build up loads and loads of user voices. Because then you'll see when we put these together as a registration, life becomes very, very easy. Now, this is where I would like you to help me. Let's go back and start with our string sound. So I'm going to start with a nice string sound. What I would like somebody is to message a sound that you'd like me to put with that. Okay. Now, why you're getting into gear and doing that? Because I know you're going to. At least fingers crossed you are. Otherwise, Esquin's going to be on duty. So look, let's just choose a sound here. There we go. Let's go into my strings. I'll choose this sound here. And I'll do the long push. There we go. So we'll start with just that string sound. Has anybody messaged? Okay, flute. Yeah, great. Would you like a mono flute? So just to play a single note, which would be sort of real world. I think that's what we should do, really. Okay, so a flute and strings will go perfectly. The reason I'm going to set it to mono is if some of you play block chords with your right hand, a flute can't play a chord. You can't blow a chord on a single flute. So that needs to be a mono voice. So let's switch on voice number 2. And at the minute, loaded in there is a sound called Philharmonic. I will tap that and I will go into the sax and flute section. And let's just find a little flute here. Classic flute. There we go. So first of all, let's make sure we've got it. Yep, hope that's coming through. Let's try, I'm not saying this is going to work, but let's try taking the flute up an octave. That's much better. It now sings through as a flute. Let's go past page 2, onto page 3, and make it mono. Now, when I play block chords, the flute is still only playing one note. Now, let's keep it simple for now. Let's assume we are happy with that. We press save. Decide where you're going to put it. Are you going to put it in the string section or are you going to put it in the flute section? I think it makes sense to put it in the string section. You highlight the location. And as you can see, I've got quite a lot of string and vocal sounds. Let's go there. 22 is empty. So save as. And let's get rid of that sound, that name rather. We'll call it Keith's sound. Okay. No expense spared, you see. Enter. Okay, now if we go into our user strings, there it is, Keith's sound. Now, I'm going to add to that sound now because this is the beauty. I can go back in and I can edit that just by doing the long push on it. Let's put a choir with that as well. So we go here and I'm going to choose my choir. I'll choose this classic choir because that accordion. Okay, I'll do that in a second. So there's my choir. But here's the big but. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's try that choir down an octave first, because you Yeah, I think if we take the volume down a little bit. Nice deep male choir there. But I don't want that choir on all the time. I want to be able to bring it in and out. So let's go through and get to page 5 and let's make the choir a second sound. And we want it to couple, and we'll leave it on the articulation toggle button because that's it's there, it's already selected. So when that's off, we've got Keith's sound, and then we've got Keith and mine sound when we press the articulation button. Let's switch the choir back off and save it in that state. But we know the choir will be there ready to bring in. So we just go to save and we'll go leave it as Keith's sound. That's fine. So we'll save. Do you want to overwrite? Yes, I do. Okay. Let's just choose ourselves a little rhythm. Let's see what this is. That's fine. So we've got that rhythm with Keith's sound. Let's just try it. See if we can bring our choir in. Yeah, we can. So look, at this point, we can go back and we can edit that. I'd change the reverbs, put a little bit more reverb on and whatever. But just for quickness today, we've now created that. So what do I need to do? While you're on the main screen, let's press save again. And what I want to save is a registration. And we'll press save as. And I'm going to cancel that out. And I'm going to call it Keith. He's starring in this today. Keith's sound. Take the capitals off. There we go. Enter. Now, if we exit to the main screen and we look in our registration bank, which is here, right down at the bottom, is Keith's sound. Okay? And we can see the voices. We've only got voice 1 at the minute, Keith's sound. Now, Sue wanted an accordion, didn't she? I just made it up. Okay. So it's called Keith's Keith's song. Yeah. It's I'm going to want royalties after him for this. Right. So Sue wanted an accordion. So why don't we just now have an accordion as a separate sound to go to? Have a look now. We've created a registration. A registration can have 8 different settings. Now, let me just clear this up. That's not 8 individual voices. That's 8 mixtures that we've made up. It could be an individual voice, and it's going to be now. So let's say I don't want this jazz alto sax. All I do is press there, okay, do a long press on it, and I'm assuming I don't use many accordion sounds, but yeah, okay. Quite like the little Casotto. That's a really little sweet little jazz accordion type sound. So look, when we exit, is put Casotto instead of the alto sax. It's that simple. Maybe we don't want that echo guitar. So let's press and hold that. And I'm going to say, I just want a nice piano sound. So I'll go through, I'll choose Smooth Grand, exit. Lo and behold, we've now got Keith's sound, Smooth Grand, and we've got Casotto. It's that easy now to go in and build an 8 set of registration up. And this is why I said I think it's important that you spend that little bit of time and make your own sounds up, and actually sort of store them in there like that. Let's change another thing. I don't think we want a Hank Marvin guitar there, so I'll just do the long press on there. Let's exit out of there. And I'm going to say, I'm going to go to my user vocal sounds, and I'll just choose my Ray Conniff vocal. Okay, again, we've updated it. What do we need to do? Just press save. Keith's sound already exists. Do you want to continue? So in other words, we're going to overwrite it. Yes, and that's it. That's taken probably 20 minutes to show you how you create individual sounds or layers of sounds, and you can do some nice little edits like octaves, reverbs, all those sort of things. You can do the clever things like first and second voices. You save them as a sound, so that saves as a user sound, and then it's so easy to build these registrations up. So let's just have a little run through. I'll see if I can remember the song again. It goes like this. Go to the little accordion. There you go. Okay, it's rough around the edges, but we've created a registration, we've saved it. We can come back to that later, we can revisit it, we can re-edit all of the sounds and get them exactly as we want them once we've tried the tune out. I personally really like this system because I just find it really, really flexible. And it's a little bit like the Korg, really, with the keyboard sets. Once you've created these voices, of course, you can bring them in and out with any of the registrations that you want to. So it's all right. There was a knock on the door there. So yeah, I hope you've seen how I think intuitive that is to do. Okay, let's go back to some that I've sort of pre-prepared for today, and I'll show you how we actually created them. So this one, look, Yellowbird, good old standard, nice easy piece of music. Basically, I select it from my list, and then I press voice. Okay. Now, at the moment, I've only put one sound in because, again, while I play this in a minute, I'd like somebody to suggest maybe an alternate sound we could go to. And let's see how quick. I'm putting myself on the line here, aren't I? It's, Yeah, it's not a good idea, this. But yeah, see, just think of another sound. It could be a mixture of sounds, and let's just see how quick we can actually create it. But I want to show you initially how I did this steel drum. I've stored it as a user ethnic sound. So let's just do this here, do the long press on it. Now this is quite an interesting sound because basically I've taken the steel drum sound and I've mixed it with itself. Why? Because steel drums are never perfectly in tune because of the nature of the instrument. So mixing the two together and panning one to the left, one to the right, that gives you that nice, you know, they tend to stand in a semicircle, don't they? So you have got steel drums coming from the right and the left, so it's keeping that authentic. But if you can see that little tuning column there on the separate screen one, we've got +2 and -2. That's not two semitones. That would sound horrendous. It's two little bits of a semitone. So it's just putting them very, very slightly out of tune. So we're going. And I think that's a really nice sound. Now, again, look, we've got whistle in there, but we can't hear it. So I think you know what I've done with the whistle. We've put it as a second voice, so I can bring that in. It's just a voice that goes quite well with that steel drum. Has anybody suggested another sound yet?
Yes, she was saying Hawaiian guitar, and Keith is saying or a trumpet.
Right, Hawaiian guitar or a trumpet. Right, okay. Again, a trumpet's slightly more difficult in that I want to be playing double notes here, and a trumpet wouldn't do that. So would he allow me to do a nice sort of group of trumpets? The answer is yes, Keith, before. So, yeah, okay. Well, let's play it first, and then we'll add those extra things in. So if you look back at my registration, yes, all the other boxes are filled, but they're filled with something that's not that appropriate at the minute. All I did was I got steel drum, I got my style that I wanted, and I saved it as a registration because I can go back and I can just add these other sounds, hopefully like I'm going to show you very shortly. So let's give this a go. I think you get the idea. I'm doing this little trill here. You haven't got to be that accurate with it. It takes a bit of practice, but it's effective because they use the I don't know whether they call them hammers or mallets with a steel drum, but they will do them so it gives that sort of repeat effect there. Okay, so Sue wanted Hawaiian guitar. Okay, so let's get rid of Stradivarius. Do the long press on it, and let's go into guitar, and let's go in search of. I'm sure there must be a Hawaiian guitar here somewhere. There it is, Hawaiian. Okay, yeah. Ideally, I'd like the aftertouch on with that, but that would mean I've just got to create a sound. So just bear with me for now. Exit. That's already there. It's in place. Now, Keith, after a little bit of persuasion from me, let's leave symphony in because we could use strings. Let's get rid of Hank Marvin. And let's go to some brass sounds here. James Last horns. Okay, I think that's all right. Let's exit from there. Strictly speaking, and I don't mind doing it, what we should do is press save. Save registration, save, keep the same name, overwrite, yes, done. So the next time, so let's go off, and the next time we go back to Yellowbird and do the double push on it, we've got steel drum, Hawaiian guitar, symphony, and horns like this. There you go. Again, it's not perfect. I know it's not perfect, and you probably know it's not perfect. The idea of today was just show you the simplicity. I would have put the aftertouch on that Hawaiian guitar so I could get the nice little vibrato on the notes there. I would have rebalanced volume-wise some of the sounds. But yeah, I hope you can see how we're actually putting this together. Now, I can see the next one down, Ghost Riders in the Sky. Again, I've just put one sound in, just to get us through there. And I've used my guitar I created for The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. So... Now, it's come up with a style. It looks like it's Ghost Riders. It's not actually. It's one of the Western styles in here. But it just fits this perfectly. But again, if we have a look at our good, bad guitar. So let's go into my user guitars here. There it is, good, bad guitar. And we do the long press. Again, look, I've got a choir sound. But you can't hear it. You know now that's a second voice. So I can bring that in for the chorus. Okay, so that's what we'll do. We'll bring that in. So it looks like we've only prepared one sound, but actually we've got two. So just have a look at the piece of music. Just remind myself how it goes. It's like this. And there you go. So we can swap between the nice guitar there, and we can just bring that choir in. It's not full in your face. It's just there, sort of in the background, as it were. Let's go to something a bit different. Let's go to this Perfidia one. So that's just a nice little Latin sound we've got here. Now, what I'd like to show you just before I play this, because I'm going to show you a use for it. Now, I need to climb under the desk here. Just give me 1 second. There we go. Below the desk, I have this little unit here. And this is what I wish that Korg would bring out. This is the 6 pedal. There is actually even a bigger one you can get. Now, I'm just going to go to the menu. And we're going to go to preference, not preferences, sorry, foot switch. There we go. Okay, so this is the small pedal unit, and they also do, as you can see from the screen, a 13 pedal unit. And again, I've got to say, this is probably the easiest multi-pedal to program. So I'm going to tap number 1 here. And I'm going to say, look at all these functions we can do with this. I'm just going to say, what should we have? Let's go. Let's put sustain on that one. Imagine you haven't got a sustain pedal on there. As soon as I tap it, the actual name, I hope you can see that in the sort of cutout of the screen there, it's changed to sustain. Let's go. You probably notice I've got harmony in number 3, and that's where I was just going to show you how we can use it. I've got rotor fast in there, but if I didn't want that, just tap it, and I might want a break. There we go. So we'll choose break, and that's it. When we exit, you can see that's changed to break now. It really is that easy. You don't have to save the setting now. It automatically remembers. If you've got the 13 pedal, obviously you just carry on and you do it as you want there. Let's pop it back on the floor. Just pop it back down there for a second. So you probably noticed I've got harmony in button 3 there. Now, I know a lot of people can't play double notes and full chords. I fully understand that. But sometimes it's sort of necessary to have it. So if I just do the little intro that I've got for this piece. So if you can't play those double notes, that's where this multi-foot switch can come in, because I can actually bring the harmony on and off. Now, there's my harmony button. And if I can locate number 3, look, the minute I press it, on comes the harmony. So just with a single note now. Off. Break in number 2? Yes, we did. So that pedal unit is invaluable. I've only just got that as a second-hand one that a friend of mine had. I'm yet to sort of program it up properly, but you can do some amazing things with that. And I also know that it's a worry for a lot of people, certainly most of my online pupils, when you ask them to take their hand off the keys and go and press something and then bring it back and find the same chord that they left. I totally understand that, and that's where something like that multi foot switch comes in. So yeah, let's just play a little bit of the piece anyway. So what have I got? I've got movie strings. I've got that brass that I could use. I've got a piano I could bring in. I've got the guitar there, and that sort of made me think of something else now. When you program a registration, even if you're quite doubtful whether you'll use a sound, but you might, put it in there, because not very often do you need all 8 slots for one particular tune. Because as you've seen, with clever use of bringing first and second voices and things like that, actually one little tile can actually be a lot more than one sound. You can also, of course, bring voice 2 in manually. So that's where we could say, okay, we start with movie strings, but when we saved it, we would have a voice of our choice in voice 2, and we would bring that in as well. So, you know, give it a little bit of thought when you're putting that together. But yeah, let's just do this. This is just dead straightforward. It's just using a little Latin bolero, I think, is the rhythm. And we use a few of these sounds just to take us through like this. I'm just using the short endings, by the way, just to save a bit of time today. But again, that was genuinely put together in sort of 5 minutes before we started the webinar, purely because I've pre-made all these sounds up. So, yeah, I think it's sort of well worth doing. We talked about the drawbars. Maybe we should just feature the drawbars now. How are we doing for time, by the way, yes? How long have we been on for? Oh, okay. All right, I've got loads of time yet. Okay, yeah, the drawbars. I just picked this little one out here. We've got a great set of drawbars here, and we've also got organ sounds in an organ bank. So you'll probably see here I'm mixing the two together. And I've also made a little sound up called Stradivarius. Now, Stradivarius is the solo violin in here, but I've put some other string sounds with it. So we might use that in the middle bit. And that's the beauty of this system, is that I can see everything in front of me. I can see exactly what's coming on. And if we were to run this webinar again in an hour's time, I almost guarantee you I wouldn't play anything the same. And that's why I like that flexibility, and that's why I'm saying put some sounds in there, even if how you feel today, you think, oh, I'm not going to use that. I'll just leave that as grand piano in all 4 of those at the bottom. Don't. I think this goes for any instrument, really. Just think, what could I use if I'm in the right frame of mind or I'm in a different sort of mood? And put them in there. It's well worth it in the long run. So, a bit more sort of lively Latin with this one now. Little thing called Amor, Amor. There you go. So some great organ sounds. I'm just switching between slow and fast tremolo, and use that sort of Stradivarius thing in there as well. What else have we got in here? I just put this one together as a bit of fun. It uses a great growl sax sort of sound. And it uses, I think the style originally is called Rockabilly. And then when we've done this one, I'm just going to do the little refresh on how you can just create as many different styles as you like, and then we'll finish off with another couple of pieces. I hope there's people watching who haven't got a Ketron, because I keep trying to say to people that if you're really enthusiastic about this world of a range of keyboards, then it's always beneficial to see what's out there and see how different makes work, because nobody knows what the future's going to hold. You know, you may suddenly say, look, I've had brand X for the last 10 years. I want something different. And it's worth just looking at the different approaches, the different sounds, etc., etc. Somebody said to me the other day, oh, you know, you just go on about the Ketron now. That's not the case. I mean, the last 2 webinars we've done Yamaha and Korg, and I'm still very, very fond of those 2 instruments. It's just because this is something new, and it's given me something refreshing to have a go at, and it's made me learn a different approach to things, which overall just keeps everything fresh. And you know, I think if you're serious about a range of keyboards, the Ketron now has to be a consideration. That said, do I think everything on here is perfect? No, of course I don't. That's not how I want this to come across. I want it to come across that actually I'm enjoying just something different. There are things in here, as there are on all keyboard makes. You know, I can sit there on the Korg and on the Yamaha, and we all do it. You sit there and say, oh, I wish it did this, or I wish it worked that way. That's life, I'm afraid. And you're never, you know, as long as we all may live, we're never going to find that absolutely perfect instrument. But yeah, I just wanted to say that the reason I've enjoyed this is because it's been something fresh. It's been a whole new sound for me. It's been a different approach, and I've really enjoyed playing it. I can't deny that. So this, I found a style called Rockabilly, and I'm still discovering things on here, really. I haven't really scratched the surface of it. And I just put it together with this little growl sax. And I don't know whether this song went worldwide, so I'm going to say people in the UK will probably remember this one. I think from the 60s. It goes like this. There, great little sound, that growl sax, and if you put the aftertouch on, you can then control a lot more of those things. So yeah, let's just have a little reminder about the styles. Look, if we go into a style, let's choose. I think I wrote one down earlier that needed something in it. No, can't remember. Okay, so let's just go into the factory styles, and we'll go into the country page. Let's just go country beat, okay, and try the style out. Okay, that's a nice sort of pop country type rhythm there. How do we get into the inners, if you like, of the style? Well, you press view and modeling. So for the sounds, you do the long press. For the styles, you go to view and modeling. And now, using these tabs down the side, you can see everything you need to see about that style. So the drums that are being used are real drums, called Beat 130. Now, if I tap that, I can change that. So let me go to Beat 128. Now, if we were to just let's bring the drums up a little bit. If we just solo the drums, then you can try all the different patterns. So that's the one that was on. It's quite heavy. Much softer, so let's use that. Okay, now let's come down to the bass. We can see it's using a MIDI bass at the moment. I could replace that with a real bass. So we go into the bass and we go through our pages here, and let's go to country. Country pop 116. That's the tempo that it was originally recorded at, but you can go a good way either side of that, and it'll be fine. So let's have a listen. So we've now put a live bass on there. Okay. Let's go down to the chord. So we can see the MIDI side of things here and the live guitars and the real chords here. So we're using real chord Country Beat 118. Again, just highlight it. There's a version A of it. Let's just solo it. There we go. So yeah, we can change that. We can change it to whatever we want, and then bring the rest of the style back in. Just put a piano on the right hand. And if you like that new version of your style, you just press save and you save it as a user style. You can change the drums, you can change the bass, you can change all the guitar parts, you can even change all of the MIDI parts if you want to. And just to highlight that, I'm only going to play just a tiny little bit of this. I found a little style in here in the unplugged section, I believe it was, and it's called Church and Choir. I think the name says it all. Let's select it. There we go. Okay. I wanted to convert that into a more orchestral side. So I went into view and modeling and just changed particularly the church organ sounds into strings and more choirs. And what I actually ended up with, if I go into my registrations here, let's load this one up here, and we'll just put some strings on the right hand. So just some nice little sort of delicate choirs and things like that in the background there. It's so flexible. You can do whatever you want with it. Gonna finish with one that I've done this on lots of different instruments. I thought I'd give it a try on here. And I just want to spend 5 minutes just showing you how I set up this sound. If you remember earlier, we talked about doing a split with the keyboard, and the piece in question is Nights in White Satin, and actually I want this nice little flute to do that little bit there, but I want the strings. Okay, so how did I do it? I created a sound which I called Satin Split, and if we just do the long button push on it here, you will see that I used a sound which already had symphony and cello, and actually voice number 2 wasn't currently being used. But you can put your split on whichever of the layers you want to. So I started with this sound. Now, I wanted to bring the flute in, so I put the flute on, and on page 2, I created my range. And how did I do it? I said the symphony strings, bottom note, and I wanted it to go to there, A4. I did exactly the same with the cello, because that matches. And then with the flute, just imagine this wasn't already done. I need the next note up, which is the A sharp, and it jumps to the top note, and I say the top note there. And that created my split straight the way there. And it's, to be honest, I could almost play the whole piece just on that one sound. I won't. We'll go off and use a couple of other sounds as well. I've used a little 12/8 style, which I just changed one of the acoustic guitar strums in it. And yeah, it goes like this. There, I mean, most of that was on that one split sound because it just makes it so flexible. I hope you've enjoyed that today. It's been a little bit different. You've joined in and given me some suggestions, and we've done some things live. I've purposely not overdone the registrations. Maybe next time we do the Ketron, we'll just do some, bigger performances on it. But I really wanted to get home the point as to how easy it is to put your sounds together and how easy it is to create these registrations. And dare I say it, how much fun it can be to try something totally and utterly different. We're off next week, so there'll be no webinar next week. And then the following week, we've got a pre-recorded webinar because Andy, bless him, is away for 3 weeks, I think, isn't he? On a cruise. So yeah, he's disappeared for most of August, but he did drop by about a week or so ago and pre-recorded something for us. So we'll put that out, and then we'll be back to normal the following week. And of course, we will keep you informed. Don't forget, on August the 15th, we've got our first Keyboard Live. And if I can just clear one thing up, if you don't register for it, you won't be able to see the video because they're not being put on YouTube afterwards. It is purely for subscribers only. There is no cost involved, but we want to keep it. So if you take the trouble to subscribe to us, we give you some unique content that you won't find for the general public out on YouTube. So yeah, look forward to your company very soon. And all I can say is thanks again for your company today. I hope Hess has been looking after you on the comments. I'm sure she has. She's frightened to speak, actually. She doesn't want to be on. She doesn't want to be on board. I should have really shown them where you are, shouldn't I? Yeah, she's going to say hello to you all. Hang on a second. There we go.
Hello. See you soon.
Yeah, that's enough. You've had your starring role. And she's just crashed into the lights on the way home. So, yeah, no, thank you ever so much for joining us. As always, it's a pleasure to have your company. And we'll see you all very, very soon. Bye for now.